Alright, hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today we're on the merching account only, but we're not going to be going into the GE necessarily. However, this video is going to be about me talking about how to find items to merch. So this is pretty much just going to be a video for the entire series that I can reference back to. If you guys don't know what series I'm talking about, I just started a GE only series. It's not going to be around building an account, it's going to be more around just, I gave myself 1 GP and seeing what I can do. Obviously, this is a bit of a spoiler, as I already have 1.5 mil, but there's more stuff in the GE that I don't want to go ahead and show you guys. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out. But for this video, I'm going to go ahead and talk about how to find items that you would want to merch and how to find items that have good margins on them. So we're not going to be doing much in-game, so I'm going to go ahead and get a better background for this video. Alright, this seems relatively secluded, so I'll use this spot, but what we're going to talk about today is how to find items that you'd like to merch, and there's kind of a few different tiers as far as merching goes to try to find items, and I split that up in this video into 3 tiers. The first tier being anything from 1 GP to 10 mil, the second tier being 10 mil to 100 mil, and the highest tier being 100 mil to whatever cash amount you have. I'd imagine for people with bills, you probably know how to work the Grand Exchange, but maybe I'm assuming too much, and maybe you're more of a PVM person. So I'll go ahead, go through all those, and naturally, we will start off with the 1 GP to 10 mil. So this is a really weird area of merching. You're not going to be making enough money per hour to outdo anything else in the game, really. With merching, there's kind of this thing where you should always be doing it on an alt account or on the side on your main. You should never be merching as your sole source of profit. As you guys know, this is a second account that I use to merch and gain money on. I would never merch solely on an account unless you're doing a lot of high profit, high volume items in which you constantly have to be there flipping them. And that's possible. There are times where you can make more money than you would doing anything else in the game. However, for the most part, that's not usually the case. So we'll go ahead and start with the 1 GP to 10 mil, and the first kind of item set that I want to talk about is the high volume items with alright margins. So basically my examples that I can tell you guys here are pretty much herbs and herb seeds, so pretty much Ranarrs, anything like that, Ranarr seeds, Snapdragon seeds, those usually have pretty good margins. All the seeds, for some reason, have about 1,000 margin. You can buy 200 of them, so it's a really good margin to get every now and then, but just by me saying that might hurt the margin. Zulrah scales are just your base. You can buy 30,000 of them. They usually have a 1 to 2 GP margin. It's a free 30 to 60k whenever you want to do it. Ores I'd recommend something like gold ores or maybe coal. Those would be kind of the two that I'd run with. I mean, rune and adamant and mithril, stuff like that does get bought and sold. However, I don't know if it's good enough. I think coal and gold are usually the place to be. As far as the logs, yew and magic, really. Redwood, I wouldn't imagine get bought and sold too often, as the average player isn't going to use them, even though I think they are the best XP in the game. And runes, I usually do death and blood runes, but you can do whichever ones you please. Along with this, those are more of the high volume items where you'll be flipping maybe a little bit quicker. There are some low value items that you can go ahead and do, and so this is what I would recommend. Probably clue scroll type items, that's what I usually go with. Something along the lines of like page sets, gilded items such as gilded plates, legs, helm. I mean, all of it has pretty good margins. I don't usually mess around with the plate skirt since it doesn't get bought and sold too much. Like lower level ornament kits, Dragon Defender, Fury ornament kit, maybe Torture if you have 6 mil, stuff like that. They always have pretty good margins, and for the most part, go ahead and just kind of, mess around with that, and you'll find some items that you like. Just look up a list of clue scroll items, and for the most part, like, they all have really good margins, but they don't get bought and sold that much because they're mainly cosmetic, so they don't have a huge demand. From there, we go into the Barrows armor for low levels. I mean, your average stuff. You can do, really like anything as far as Barrows goes. And nowadays, Guthans used to be a little too pricey to do it, or with a 1 to 10 mil cash check. But now pretty much anything's up for grabs, and usually they all have pretty decent margins. It's kind of your good starter set for merching. Those items are just guaranteed decent profit. You kind of get to know the ropes a little bit. On top of that, focus a lot on God Dehides is what I know. Just as far as like clue scroll loot go, God Dehide boots are really good, and so all of them pretty much have good margins. So now we're going to go ahead and get on into the medium tier. So with the medium tier, obviously being 10 to 100 mil, there are a few different things, and I mean, most of this is what you'll see at the Grand Exchange, and this is something that I'll offer up to people as kind of an idea. If you're sitting at the Grand Exchange and you do not know what to merch, something that I've utilized in the past is the idea of just hopping to different worlds, looking around at people's armor, and merching that. Because obviously, if the person's wearing that armor, it's in demand, at least somewhat. And for the most part, it just kind of gets you an idea as far as what different things to look for. The more obscure something is, that you may not know exactly what it is, it might have a bigger margin, so go ahead and check it out. But that's something that I do. But let's get on into the notables that I have here. So we're starting off with God Wars armor. Now this is a big one. Everyone thinks to merch this. Everyone is like, what can I merch? They're like, boom, God War stuff, because it's high value, people want it, but it's not necessarily the best because everyone has this idea. And I gotta log back in. Some things that I would personally recommend are the Armadyl crossbow, usually a pretty good margin. Not a lot of people think of it, I don't think. Typically people go with Bando's armor and Armadyl armor. However, Armadyl armor is the exception. Still has decent margins. I don't know if that's because of the recent update though. Zami Spears / Hostas are really good, and Armadyl, as I said before, along with the SGS. From what I've noticed, Bandos and Zami Godswords don't have that much of a margin because everyone thinks of God War stuff to merch, and people with a low cash tag would think to those two items since those are the cheapest that people actually want. And with Armadyl, you have all the people that think of it because it's PKers. So SGS, typically pretty good. I like it a lot. Along with the SGS, you kind of had the Abyssal Bludgeon. I know it technically isn't God Wars, but kind of the same item as far as price range and relatively good margin. Along with that, the second kind of little niche of pieces that I would recommend would be low tier raid items. So stuff like Dragon Hunter crossbow is pretty good, Twisted Buckler, Arcane Scroll, and Ancestral Hat. All of these are pretty good. You could probably throw a Dragon Harpoon in there that has a decent margin every now and then. Raid's armor, for the most part, always has really good margins, mostly because it's very volatile. Prices do raise and lower a lot with this kind of stuff, so you have to be careful and kind of know where the market's at with them and what's going on as far as the game goes. On top of that, we have Slayer drops. Now, these are Slayer drops that are a bit higher, you know, kind of thing. Like, for the average person, like, merching Slayer drops, you would think wouldn't be all that great, because you think of whips, dark bows, none of that's really that good. But what I'm here for today is Prim Boots, Pegasian Boots, both of those really good margins. Eternals actually sometimes have a good margin. And along with that, the two main Slayer drops from Superiors are really good. So that goes with the Imbued Heart and Eternal Gem. Eternal Gem's a little worse, but I mean the Imbued Heart's really nice and the Eternal Gem is at least worth a thought. Along with that, since I said the Eternal Gem, I'm kind of along the lines of the Eternal Glory. That has a decent margin every now and then, and as you can see, we got some merges going on. But yeah, so the Eternal Glory has a decent margin a lot of the time. It's really weird. And then along with that, we have the Master / Elite rewards. Now, as I said earlier, cosmetics always have just a ton of margin for no reason, but basically what I'd recommend with this is pretty much any ornament kit. Like, ornament kits, they're not really in high demand, and they're not in that much of high supply. Like, no one's stocked up on them. As soon as you get one, you're throwing it away to someone else, and once you have one, unless you're getting cleaned, you're probably not taking it apart to sell the ornament kit because you don't even recognize it, really. Ooh, poor guy. But yeah, so stuff like Fury, Torture, Cult, Godsword, ornament kits, all of that, really good margins there. On top of that, Ring of Coins and Nature Ring, actually not too bad. I mean, they have decent margins, a relatively low cost, and so they're not a bad item. Check out if you can. Now on to the 100 mil to 1 bill area. This is something that I have ventured into on my main account, this being my main account at the time. I had a bill, so I'm someone that's tested some of these items. I don't have the best information on high price stuff because I never got to it, but we'll go ahead and get on into it. So Third Age armor, something I'd recommend. Plate bodies and plate legs, really good margins on those. They always have a consistent 400 to 500k. You'll be lucky sometimes to get a mil to 2 mil. So yeah, plate legs, body are consistent. Same with the Magic Robe Top. It's actually really good. I don't know why. It's a relatively cheaper piece of Third Age, but I'm guessing it's like, you know, it's just one of those really cool items. It's actually kind of useful. Along with that, you have some stuff that I can't give a whole lot of input on as I've never merged them myself, but I see all the time that they have crazy margins, and that is a pickaxe, hatchet, sword, and cape. I do not know how to merge these personally, although I do know that they are good merges. merches, as I see them all the time on GE Tracker, just having the craziest of margins. But there's a lot that goes into it because sometimes these items don't even buy or sell in the GE in a day's time. So you kind of have to be really patient with them. Get out of here. Anyways, on from there, we have the high tier raid armor. So yeah, this is going to be, this is going to be about everything that you can think of as far as raids go. Claws, Ancestral, Elder Maul, Twisted Bow, and the Kodai Wand. Pretty much all stuff that you're going to want to go ahead and merch. They all have pretty good margins. Twisted Bow, I would love to merch. Like, I'd love to make a video just merching Twisted Bows or Elysians. Just godlike margins, but they're very volatile, and that's what makes them have such big margins. If they were guaranteed margins, they wouldn't be that profitable. And now on to the final little set that we have, and that is Spirit Shields, Arcane, Spectrals, and Ellie's. But Arcane and Spectral usually have a couple 100,000 of a margin, and Ellie is actually really crazy. It always just has the craziest margins. Sometimes it gets up to 2 to 3 mil. But obviously that's because no one knows how useful the Ellie is right now, and so people are just panic selling, panic buying as soon as other people start to, and it's kind of just a snowball effect. And that brings us to the end of the videos. So what this video is meant to address is the question that I get so often in game, and that is, what items should I merch? It's really hard. I don't understand why people ask me this, because one thing you have to realize as a mercher, if you have good items, don't tell anyone. Which kind of goes against the entirety of this video. I understand that. But these are a lot more general items. I still have a few items that I keep to myself and will hold until my death, as if I tell anyone, the margins are ruined. So if you find really good items, make sure not to tell people. That's one of the best things to do in game. And I know it's contradictory to everything I've said in this video. Those are legitimately good merches, but everyone knows of the items. There are some stray items in game that have really good margins, and those are kind of what I'm focusing more towards with this comment. But one thing that you have to do when merching is you can't just take the list of items that I gave you in this video and hold those as the only items that you're going to merch. You have to apply the key attributes of the items I've told you and kind of the concepts of how they come into the game, how often they're needed. There's a ton of different steps to go through to try to reapply the items that I've given you and find other items through that. So there's a little bit of effort on your part. I'm giving you kind of a starting base as far as what items are good, and kind of you can look from there as far as what you want to find. But hopefully this video is helpful. Hopefully this addresses any of the questions if you guys have Hopefully this addresses any of the questions that you guys have. In the future, if there's anything you guys want to know, and right now, if there's anything you guys want to know about merching, go ahead and leave those in a comment. I think I'll kind of have this as a running side series to my main one for as far as merching goes, because I know a lot of people have questions as far as to how merching works, and I can't explain those in the progress videos with merching, because it would just be way too long and it would just be all over the place. So hopefully this video is helpful. If it was, make sure to leave a like if you're excited for the series and the content that I'm putting out. Subscribe to the channel, and yeah, join Large EXP Lamp in game. I got a Discord in the description along with the Twitter, so check out whatever you please. And yeah, with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.
Everything is going